Hello again, everybody. This is John and Glenn with BestPriceNutrition.com. Today we're going to be reviewing the Optimum Nutrition Platinum Hydrowhey. We've gotten a lot of questions about it. It seems like hydrolyzed proteins are all the rave right now. So let's go ahead and run through it real quick, Glenn. We can talk about specifically hydrolyzed whey, and basically, whey protein, what it is it's a byproduct from cheese manufacturing. That's where it's from. It's the liquid that comes from there, and it's a bunch of globular proteins, which basically means that they're soluble in water, and a bunch of microfractions or native microfractions is known as what makes up whey protein. So what does it mean when they hydrolyze a protein? What are they doing?
They're breaking it down into smaller pieces. So what they're doing specifically with whey is they're going in and they're chopping, they're breaking the peptide chains within that protein into smaller pieces to help it absorb better. So that's the idea behind it.
Yeah, and I believe this one's done enzymatically. Most of them are now, instead of more chemical degradation. And one of the problems with whey protein when you hydrolyze it is those protein subfractions we talk about. Sometimes you see them listed on the side of certain products. They'll say, hey, X% of this, this, and that is, well, you denature it. You kind of ruin the native structure. So it's kind of one of
the enzymatic process is used to break these chains. It's not really at a specific point. A lot of the enzymes used will break off just the first amino acid, so you're left with a bunch of free-form amino acids. Or they'll break it after 8, so you've got an oligopeptide. So you get a lot of variance there.
Yeah, and the degree of hydrolysis is not disclosed, so we really don't know what degree it's hydrolyzed to. And what that does, as Glenn said, is it's basically trying to mimic what your body's going to do, which is to hydrolyze, break down the protein, which is just adding water to break down peptide bonds. It's kind of the reaction that goes on. And the problem is we don't know the degree of hydrolysis, so we don't know what % we're getting of di-and-tripeptides, because there's really 3 forms of amino acids that your body absorbs without digestion, or after digested, puts them into this form. Tripeptides, which are 3 amino acid chains, dipeptides, which are 2 amino acids peptide bond to each other, and free-form amino acids. Now, the preference is to have di- and tripeptides because they're going to absorb faster, in your small intestine, specifically in the duodenum. You have what you call Pepti-1 and Pepti-2. Those are transporters in your GI tract that literally just look for these peptides and transport them directly into the bloodstream.
Yeah, and in a competitive environment, when you have di- and tripeptides and their free forms, your body has a preference for these di- and tripeptides, so they'll get absorbed first.
Yeah, and the liver is going to limit how many free-form amino acids are going to get into the blood at any given time, because one of the liver's functions is to take convert non-essential amino acids. If you take essential amino acids and make non-essential ones, so it's going to get the proper ratio of what it needs. It can take glucogenic amino acids in the liver and turn them into carbohydrates if need be, aka sugar, by a process called gluconeogenesis. Then there's ketogenic amino acids, which can be turned to ketone bodies if need be. But that's kind of some of the drawbacks, like you said, stability with free-form amino acids, and we really don't know how many are in here. Now, most whey hydrolysates we've seen, it's usually going to be about 40% free-form amino acids.
And that's an awful lot when you're looking at a protein. They just took an intact, stable protein and cut it down, and nearly half of it is free-form amino acids.
And they add free-form amino acids to this as well.
Yeah, they add a free-form, they're micronized branch-chain amino acids, so they add the BCAAs in addition to the protein you're already getting.
So there are some benefits in the sense that typically a hydrolyzed protein can absorb faster. But there are some drawbacks when we don't know all the details. Another issue typically has been, why you don't see, powders with tons of free-form amino acids typically, with all 20 per se, is bitterness.
Bitter, yeah, very bitter.
They're too bitter. And that was usually the problem with whey hydrolysates for a long time, was they're too bitter. They taste so bad.
If you've ever had just an amino acid formula or amino acid complex where they flavored it, it's really hard to flavor. It still tastes very bitter. And that's the problem with free-form amino acids.
Yeah, and I have not tasted this, but I know you did. You said it tastes very good.
Yeah,
we've gotten good feedback in terms of the taste, so we don't want to steer you into that direction. The taste of this has been received very well. So that makes me question the degree of hydrolysis with it. But it may very well be hydrolyzed more. It's just that Optimum chose not to disclose that. So it may be. Like I said, some of the benefits are it can absorb faster. It could be hypoallergenic. People who typically have allergies to whey and stuff, it tends to lessen the effects of that for some people.
Yeah, because you're removing some of those peptide fractions.
And this does come in the 3.5 and a.
This is 1.7 pound.
Okay.
1.7 pound.
Now, I noticed with the flavors we have, you have cookies and cream as well.
Yeah.
They add a little bit of fat to it. I assume that's for flavoring, but that'll slow down the absorption a little bit. So that's
there's 1 gram of fat inside here and 2 grams of carbs.
It's not a ton of fat, but
it's
enough to affect what you're trying to go for in terms of slowing down the absorption of the protein. So. We've done other videos where we've talked before about Peptopro. That's an ingredient we like. It's made by DSM. That's the company that actually has the patent to it. That's a hydrolyzed casein, and typically when people hear about casein, they think, oh, slow absorbing, slow absorbing. But when you hydrolyze casein, you change the structure of it. With casein, you don't have to worry about these protein microfractions. So when you hydrolyze it, you're not losing that benefit of it, and that's one of the major benefits of whey. And with Peptopro, they actually disclose the degree of hydrolysis. You end up with 60% dining tripeptides. You end up with less than 2% free-form amino acids. The average peptide length is 4.2, which is really low. It's got a very low molecular weight. So that is one that we really like.
The nice thing about casein, though, the reason why that can happen is because there's more often than not there's proline, the amino acid proline. So that's why they found an enzyme that will go in and break that peptide bond at proline, and that's what allows them to be more exact with their hydrolysis to say you're getting diene tripeptides, small amount of free-form amino acids left also.
Yeah, and then they run it through another enzyme that gets rid of the residue, which would be the oligopeptides and free-form amino acids. So you end up with a pretty rich source. So that's one reason we like that. There's quite a few products out there, not quite a few, but there's a few products that use Peptopro. Not all of them have an efficacious dose because the thing's pretty expensive, which is understandable. If you did a big container of it, it would get pretty pricey, but that's a cool raw material. But so back to the whey hydrolysates. Again, the biggest issue that we have is just the cost. We don't know that the benefit is where it should be in terms of that. We know you're going to get faster absorption, but when you take into account all those, free-form amino acids and stuff, are you still getting that same benefit? That's the one thing we question. So,
yeah, I guess they're targeting this as say fastest and purest, and so I guess the idea would be post-workout. You take it post-workout as your post-workout protein.
That would be the best time probably to take it. You should probably add carbs to it as well if you can do post-workout, so you can get more of an insulin spike. But that's just something to consider because we've got a lot of questions on this, and until we know that degree of hydrolysis, and from what we know of whey hydrolysates right now, it's hard to justify the cost of them, really. At least relative to something like Peptopro that's on the market. So hopefully we're able to answer all you guys' questions. Please feel free to rate our video. There's a thumbs up, thumbs down beneath the video. Let us know if you like it. Also, ask questions. We're more than happy to answer them. Post them in the comment sections. You can check us out at facebook.com/bestpricenutrition, or you can check us out on our blog at BestPriceNutrition.com/blog, and we're more than happy to answer those questions. Thanks.